All right, buckle up, everyone, because tonight we are diving deep into a huge SEC basketball matchup.
Huge is right. We're talking about number 4, Alabama, taking on number 15, Missouri.
Yeah, and this is way more than just your average top-ranked teams going head-to-head.
Definitely. The stakes are incredibly high for Alabama, especially.
Yeah, so let's set the stage a little. We've got the Crimson Tide sitting at 21 wins and 4 losses overall,
Not bad at all.
and they're 10-2 in conference play.
So they're right there at the top of the SEC.
Absolutely. Now, on the other side, we've got the Missouri Tigers.
And they've been a real surprise this season.
They're coming into this game with a 19-6 record.
19-6 overall.
Yeah, and they're 8-4 in the SEC.
So a little bit behind Alabama, but still a force to be reckoned with.
For sure. Now, I've been poring over all sorts of previews and predictions, and just about everyone is saying this game is going to be a nail-biter.
Yeah, even Vegas has it as basically a toss-up.
Pretty much. Some sources are giving Missouri a slight edge with that home court advantage, though.
Right. I mean, they've won like 16 of their last 17 games at Mizzou Arena.
It's a tough place to play.
It is.
So what do you think? How much of a factor do you think that home court is going to be?
Well, home court advantage is definitely a real thing, statistically speaking. Teams tend to play better at home. You know, they're more comfortable, the crowd's behind them, no travel fatigue. All of that plays a role.
That makes sense.
And you can't underestimate the psychological impact of having that crowd on your side.
Okay, so let's dive into the styles of these teams. We're looking at kind of a classic clash of titans here, wouldn't you say?
I would agree with that.
You've got Alabama, who, as we all know, they're an offensive powerhouse.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, leading the nation in scoring with a whopping 90.3 points per game.
Whoa.
But Big Dut, their defense, not so great. Ranked 337th, giving up an average of 79.1 points.
So it's a real double-edged sword. They can put up points in a hurry.
No doubt.
But they also leave themselves vulnerable on the other end of the court. So it makes this game really unpredictable.
Right.
Will it be this high-scoring shootout, or can Missouri slow them down and make it more of a defensive battle?
And that's where Missouri's style comes in. I mean, their defense is a completely different beast.
Night and day compared to Alabama.
Yeah, they're only giving up 69 points per game on average.
So that right there tells you this is going to be a fascinating matchup.
It does. So it's like the irresistible force meeting the immovable object.
Yeah, you've got it.
Do you think Alabama's offensive firepower will be enough to overcome their defensive vulnerabilities? Or will Missouri's defense be the key to shutting them down?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, I know I can't wait to find out.
Me neither. It's going to be a great game.
So what are you thinking? What's going to be the key here?
You know, I think it all comes down to whether Alabama can contain Missouri's scoring. I mean, can they step up on defense and really force those tough shots?
That's a great point, because if Missouri can dictate the tempo and keep the score down, that plays right into their hands.
Exactly. I mean, their whole game plan revolves around that tough, disciplined defense. So if Alabama lets them get comfortable, it could be a really tough night for the Crimson Tide.
All right, so before we get into who we should be keeping an eye on during the game,
Right.
let's talk about what's at stake for Alabama here. We know they're right in the thick of that SEC championship race.
Oh, yeah. This game is huge for them in that regard.
How crucial would you say this win is?
I mean, it's absolutely critical. Like right now, they're tied for first place in the SEC standings.
Yep.
But the thing is, they've got some seriously tough games coming up.
Oh, yeah, their schedule doesn't get any easier.
Not at all. And if they lose this one,
Yeah.
it puts them in a really precarious position. Like their whole destiny, their control over winning that championship, it kind of slips away.
So a win keeps them in the driver's seat, but a loss.
A loss could really derail their hopes.
So for all of you listening, keep that in mind as we dive deeper into this matchup.
It's going to be a wild ride.
All right, now let's talk about some of the players who could swing this game one way or the other.
Absolutely. There are some real difference makers on both sides.
That's right. All right, so we've got this clash of styles, this must-win situation for Alabama, and the pressure cooker of Mizzou Arena.
Yeah, it's going to be an electric atmosphere for sure.
So let's talk about some of the players we should be watching for.
Okay, yeah, let's get into some of these key matchups.
On Alabama's side, obviously, Mark Sears.
He's the guy. Leading scorer, averaging like 17.8 points a game.
Yeah, and dishes out almost 5 assists per game, too.
Yeah, 4.8. So he's not just a scorer, he's running that offense. A true floor general.
And this is interesting. He actually averages more points on the road than he does at home.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was reading that, and I thought, that's kind of weird.
It is. I wonder what that's about.
Yeah, what do you think it is? Is it just like he thrives under pressure? Maybe that hostile environment gets him going?
Yeah, it could be. Some guys are just wired that way. They love silencing that opposing crowd.
Or maybe he's just more locked in when they're on the road, knows he has to step up to help the team get that W.
Could be. It's definitely something to keep an eye on tonight. See how he handles that Mizzou crowd.
Right, and then down low for Alabama, you've got Grant Nelson, who's been a beast.
Oh, yeah. Double-double machine.
12.6 points, 8.3 rebounds.
Yeah. Missouri's big men are going to have their hands full trying to contain him.
They're going to have to. Now, switching over to Missouri, Who are we watching on their side?
Well, first guy that comes to mind is Tamar Bates, their leading scorer at 13.4 a game.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of him.
He's really versatile, can score from anywhere. And then you've got Caleb Brill.
Brill,
He
okay.
can light it up from three-point moles.
Oh, so if he gets hot?
Watch out. He can single-handedly swing the momentum.
Right, right. And then we can't forget about Anthony Robinson the second.
Oh, yeah, he's our assist leader. Really runs that offense, makes sure everyone's involved.
So how do you think those individual matchups play out? I mean, we were just talking about Sears versus that Missouri defense.
Right, right. That's going to be fun to watch.
Do you think that could be the deciding factor? Or will it be somebody else who steps up and has that breakout game?
Yeah, I think the point guard matchup between Sears and Robinson is definitely going to be crucial. Whoever can control the tempo, set the tone for their team, I think that'll have a big impact on the game.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then, of course, down low with Nelson against Missouri's bigs, that's going to be a battle, too.
Definitely. It'll be interesting to see how they try to defend Nelson because he's so strong and athletic.
Okay, so we've got these key players to watch on both sides, a bunch of different factors in play. Let's talk predictions. What are the experts saying?
Well, it seems like they're kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I've got a few different sources here. It's hard to get a clear read.
Yeah, I mean, it's a close game. It really is a toss-up. One source is saying Alabama wins it 91-85.
Wow.
High-scoring game.
Yeah, that's a lot of points.
Yeah, they're thinking Sears is going to have a huge bounce-back game after struggling a bit against Auburn.
Okay. And what are the other sources saying?
Well, another one is giving the edge to Missouri. They're saying home court advantage, that defense. I mean, those are big factors.
Yeah, that's true.
And then there's Bleacher Nation, who's predicting Alabama wins 82-79.
So a little closer.
Yeah, but still favoring Alabama.
It's interesting to see how divided everyone is, even the experts.
Yeah, it shows you how evenly matched these two teams really are.
It does. I mean, you've got these conflicting predictions. We make sense.
It does. It's really hard to say who's going to come out on top.
So what I'm hearing is there's no easy answer here. Both teams have a real shot at winning this thing.
Exactly. It's going to come down to execution, who wants it more, which players step up and make those big plays.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what makes March Madness so exciting, right?
Exactly. You just never know what's going to happen.
So as you're watching this game tonight, I want you to really think about what we've talked about here.
Okay, yeah.
The strengths, the weaknesses of each team, those individual matchups we talked about.
Right.
And think about how those coaches are going to adjust their game plan throughout the game.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole other level of strategy.
Because it's like a chess match, right? Each move they make is going to have an impact on the game.
For sure. And the outcome can change in an instant.
Okay, so now that we've really laid the groundwork here, I think the most important question is, why should you, the listener, care about this game? What makes it worth tuning in for?
Well, for starters, you've got two ranked teams, two completely different styles going head-to-head.
I mean, come on, that's entertainment right there.
Exactly. Alabama's offense is explosive. It's fun to watch. And then you've got Missouri, that tough, gritty defense. So stylistically, it's going to be a really interesting contrast.
And then on top of that, you've got the SEC championship implications, like we talked about. This game is huge for Alabama if they want to stay in contention for the title.
Right. And for Missouri, a win against a top-5 team like Alabama, that's a statement.
It would be. Put them on the map.
Yeah, and it could really propel them up the rankings.
All right, and we all know in college basketball, anything can happen.
Oh, absolutely. Especially in a game like this that's so evenly matched.
Yeah, that's what makes it so unpredictable.
Exactly. You could have an unexpected hot shooting streak, a clutch defensive stop, a key turnover. Any of those things can change the whole game in a matter of seconds.
Okay, so we've got all of that. The high stakes, the talent, the clash of styles. What else could you ask for?
I think we've got all the ingredients for a classic here.
I agree. So are you ready to make your prediction, Alabama or Missouri?
Oh, man, this is a tough one. I'm going to go with Missouri.
You're going with Missouri.
Yeah, I think their defense will be the difference.
Interesting. You think they can really shut down that Alabama offense?
I do. And that home court advantage is going to be a big factor, too. I think that'll give them the edge they need to pull off the upset.
Okay, I see your point. But I'm actually leaning towards Alabama.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think their firepower is just too much for Missouri to handle, even on their home court. But hey, that's the beauty of this, right? It's all about opinions and predictions.
Exactly. That's why we love spurts.
And we'll find out who's right when the game tips off tonight. Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground. I think we've given everyone listening a pretty good sense of what to expect.
I think so.
But before we send them off to watch the game,
Yeah.
is there anything else, any final thoughts you think they should keep in mind? Anything we haven't touched on yet?
You know, sometimes it's easy to get so caught up in the stats and all the predictions.
Right.
But sometimes those intangible factors can really make all the difference in a game like this.
Intangibles. Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, things like momentum, coaching adjustments, how the players respond to adversity, all of that stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Like, remember how we talked about Alabama coming off that tough loss against Auburn?
Yeah,
How they bounce back from that mentally? I mean, that could have a huge impact on how they play tonight.
that's a really good point because you can't always measure that kind of stuff, you know. but it's definitely there.
Oh, yeah. Those are the things that don't always show up in the box score, but they can totally swing a game.
And on the flip side, Missouri is playing at home
Right.
in front of their crowd.
Exactly. And that can give you such an edge. We talked about the statistical significance of home court advantage, but there's also a real emotional element to it. That energy from the crowd, it can be contagious.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So basically, you're saying that even with all the data, all the predictions that we've looked at,
Yeah.
there's still this element of mystery to how this game will unfold.
Absolutely. And that's what makes sports so great. I mean, it's not always about who's supposed to win on paper.
Right.
It's about who shows up and performs on game day.
Exactly. So to everyone listening, here's a final thought to chew on while you watch the game. Pay attention to those little momentum shifts.
Yeah.
See how those coaches are adapting their strategies and how the players are responding. See if you can spot those intangibles at play and how they might be influencing the game. It'll really give you a whole new appreciation for what's happening on the court.
It really will.
All right, so we've broken it all down. All that's left to do is watch the game. Alabama versus Missouri tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern on the SEC Network.
Don't miss it.
It's going to be an amazing one. And be sure to join the conversation on social media using the hashtag #DeepDiveBamaMizzou. Let us know your thoughts and your predictions for the game. We'll be watching right along with you.